Hey, how's it going? I'm Chris with PearsonCopy.com, and I'm here to help your brand make more sales with email. And today I'm going to be doing a breakdown of an email from a brand called Melin. This is a part of my 100 email breakdowns in 100 days challenge. So let's dive in. The first element we're going to look at is this brand's subject line. Subject line here is "Welcome to Melon." I think that's pretty standard. The standard is pretty straightforward. Two things to keep in mind here with your subject lines, specifically for welcome emails, is that people are looking for this email because they signed up for either an incentive, a code, a lead magnet, something to draw them into their inbox, so they could use it on your website or in their life. So, getting clever or getting crafty with this first initial welcome email with your subject line typically isn't advised unless you have some kind of joke or some kind of connection to your form that people can make that connection to. Otherwise, I think this is pretty great. Melon does this right. Welcome to Melon. It's a pretty straightforward subject line, and it gets people to say, "Hey, yep, that's the thing I was looking for. That's the thing I signed up for. That's the brand I'm looking for." So I think they did a great job there. The next element here, we've got the from name over here, Melon, and the email address. So this is pretty standard too when it comes to e-commerce brands. They usually use their brand name and then either like a newsletter at, support at, customer support at, hello at, some kind of just general email that they can use, email names they can use for the email address. Something I would suggest maybe testing here is, especially for this first welcome email and maybe a couple in the welcome series, is to actually make these emails come from a specific person. So if I did my research right, I believe Melon has two main founders. If we can make one of the maybe this initial email or one of the emails inside this welcome series to say, hey, the founder's first name at Melon, and then their first name at domainname.com, to make the customer feel like they're getting an email from the actual owner or founder of the company, or even somebody that works in the company, actually get an email from a real person. This is going to, one, reduce friction when it comes to like making a connection as a person, as a human, emotionally, and two, it's going to make them say, oh, somebody's actually sending me an email. This isn't an automation. They actually care. So that's something I would say test with this. Melon may have tested this and it may have not worked, but I have seen open rates and click-through rates go up when emails come from actual people instead of just the brand name. So that's the second aspect or second element. The third thing that I noted here was their brand logo. I really like this. I really like that it's simple, it's clean, it gets out of the way once the people read it. It's like Melon, there's a brand, and we're rolling into the content. The other thing is they don't have a menu at the top of their email, which I absolutely like. One of the rules I like to try and abide by when it comes to emails is one purpose, one topic, one subject, one offer, one CTA, one thing per email, right? And this brand doesn't get in the way of that, or this brand logo doesn't get in the way of that. So kudos to Melon for doing this and keeping things simple. The next thing is going to be their branding, aesthetic, design. I prefer to lean into plain text emails when it comes to welcome flows or welcome series, but Melon does keep a very nice, very simple aesthetic and design when it comes to their email, which I think is super important because initially this first welcome email, people are looking for an incentive, a lead magnet, something that they signed up for. You want to get out of their way and let them get that thing. Let them get to the incentive code so they can go shop and buy your products. So otherwise, I think their design and aesthetic is super clean, super simple, and I really like it. Let's see here. The next thing I've got for you. So this tagline here, again, welcome to Melon. That's the name of the email. That's the header basically on this aesthetic here. We're so thankful you have such great taste. So this is what I would call a flattery driver or trigger when it comes to copy. So this is essentially trying to play on the customer's, trying to flatter them and make their ego feel better for signing up and having great taste in looking at Melon's hats. So something here that I would test, and we'll get to this later, but there's a big benefit buried in this email that I think should be this tagline. And I'll connect that later for you. But there are a few pieces of this email that I think would increase opens, clicks, and sales if we updated this tagline. Also the preview text, which we didn't talk about earlier, which I'll bring in later. And also a few other places where this big benefit would actually get people to say, hey, I'm going to use that code and go buy right now. That's a huge benefit. I have to try this out. There's no risk for me. So again, I'd imagine Melon's tested this, but I would take the big benefit we're going to mention later, slap it in here and test it and see how it goes. So moving on down the email here. The next thing I mentioned, this is just a small note. This is the copywriter in me. The word dialed. So let's get you dialed for your next adventure. Dialed is a very specific word. It's not general. It's very market centric, right? It's the language of people who are basically in this picture, like this target market. They would use the word dialed for things, dialed, focused, etc. There's different words you could use here, but I just wanted to mention that because the word dialed, I'd imagine is very market centric. It's very focused on the language the market's using, who are going to buy these hats. So thought that was a cool thing to mention. If you can use your market's language in your emails, it doesn't have to be all over the place, but if you can use certain verbs or certain subjects, just phrases in your email that the market uses, it's going to help them it's going to help them resonate with your email and your copy and your products and offers more. So that's that. Next thing we've got here, the coupon code or the incentive code here. Two things. One, I think the melin 10 code's perfect. That's great. Melin should keep using that. The second thing is this code right here causes a lot of friction. So if I have to enter this code into a checkout, if I have to enter this code into a cart, if I have to copy and paste this from my phone over to the website into a cart to purchase, this causes a lot of friction for me to actually buy. So while maybe it's 1 to 3, maybe 5% of people aren't buying because this code is way too long and it's too much work, that 1 to 3 to 5%, that's a ton of revenue that you're losing just because your code causes a lot of friction. Now, something to keep in mind, there are ways to click on Shop Now, or ways to put code in to click on Shop Now to where it goes to the site and it cookies people and it remembers the code and they can use it at checkout. That may be the case that Melin's using here. If they are, great. If not, this may be a friction point that they could update and change and just make it melin 10. When you work with Shopify and other e-com softwares or sites, you can create codes in the back end that actually allow it for one use per email address per customer. So you don't have to do these long custom generated codes for your incentive codes or your discount codes, right? So I would suggest changing that so we can reduce friction so the customer can go right into buying something and not have to remember, 15 characters, however many characters that is. So that's that. Otherwise, yes, incentive codes, lead magnets, guides, whatever you can use to get people on your email list that actually relates and correlates with your products and your brand, absolutely use it. So growing your list is probably in the top 2 things that you should do as a brand when it comes to business. So moving on down, past the Shop Now button, just something offhand here that I noticed here. We've got a nice little sales sequence going on. Welcome to Melin, confirming that you're in the right place. The email's from Melin, so that's the second time you see the brand name. Third, you see the brand logo at the top. Welcome to Melin. You see welcome. You see the brand name 4 times before you even get to the actual incentive. So that's a cool thing. It registers Melin. It puts it in the customer's brain, right? So there's a little quick direct offer here at the top. And then we move into essentially what I would call the first objection, first question or objection. And I think Melin does this brilliantly because I'm assuming they know the customer well enough that they say, hey, the first objection is, okay, you're telling me this is a premium hat. I'm paying $60 plus for it. What makes it different? What makes it better? That's typically the first question that comes out of people's mouth, or that comes from their mind, even if they don't ask it, is what makes this different? What makes this better? Why should I buy it? And see, that why thing comes later with that big benefit. That I think should be in the top with the tagline. But anyway, so what makes it better? That's the first objection. I think they did a great job at addressing this. You can read this here, but we are obsessed with quality, et cetera, et cetera. And then something here inside of what makes it better is they identified 18 pieces making up your typical ball cap, and they elevated every one of them. So the question in my mind goes, wow, that's really cool. But my question is, what's the story behind these 18 pieces? How did you identify the 18? What's the story behind creating and mapping out those 18 pieces so you would know that those are the ones you should identify and elevate? What's the story behind that? That's very curious. It makes me wonder, right? Because their hats are premium, they're selling hats for $60 to $100 roughly. Showing people this process and bring them behind the scenes and saying, hey, this is why it's premium, or this is what makes us different and makes us premium. There's going to be a percentage of your customers that actually have an emotional connection to that. They're going to see that and go, oh, that's why I should buy it. That's fantastic. I'm in, because premium products do require a little bit more explanation because it's a status exclusivity type thing. And when you put the time into showing behind the scenes and how it's made and what's going into the product, that raises the value of the product, right? And it justifies that price after they buy it. So that's something that maybe Melin's already done, or they could test in their welcome series, is go through each of the 18 pieces, maybe make a video of the production of a hat and just say, hey, this is the 18 steps that we go through to make this hat as premium, the best that you've ever had. So that's something, one little line, one little mention could spin off a ton of different ideas for marketing, for different ways to approach a customer and actually raise the value of the product. So there's that. Moving on down the email, there's a gap here for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's PDF. So the next section here, we have ingredients, mission, and find your shape. So the ingredients, what's the story behind this? So we source the world's most premium materials available. We hold ourselves to the highest construction and quality control standards. So two things, what are the sources and where do you source them? right? What are the premium materials and where do you source them? And then what does highest standard or highest construction quality control standard, what does that actually mean? Those are the two questions that come to mind for me. And I'm sure there's a story behind this. Again, kind of like the 18 pieces for the hat. There's a story behind where they get the most premium materials and how they hold themselves to these high standards of quality material standards. The behind the scenes, the making of the hat, showing how premium it is. For example, if you go into like the leather working industry, the behind the scenes stuff on that is so cool looking because leather is a high value product. If they're making like bags or purses or wallets, even showing that stuff behind the scenes adds a ton of value in the perceived value really to the customer's mind of like, yeah, this is quality. It's handmade, it's handcrafted. They put a ton of time into this. That's why the price is so high. And this is why I have to have it because I'm buying a premium product. So again, there's some background here that we could probably unravel and unveil to the customer. Now, again, not saying Melin's not doing this because I've only got one email from them so far. But if this is not in their welcome series, this alone, the ingredients alone, the story, the creation story of where they got the ingredients, how they made their first hat, that is an email of itself that could be selling stuff right now. So just a suggestion, but that's what I would unravel and unveil here with this section. So there's that. Moving down, our mission. I think their mission statement's solid. It's pretty straightforward. The one thing, and this is where the preview text, the tagline up above, and some spots below this section of the email, where this big, huge benefit could be used in this email. I think this is the big idea of the email. Even this is the angle of the email, and I think they should update this welcome email to fit this big benefit. That big benefit is essentially their hats are guaranteed to outlast any other hat you've ever had. Now, that sounds simple. It sounds basic, but that is huge because if you buy hats and you know hats and you wear hats all the time, they wear out pretty quickly, right? These have cloth backs, they have snapbacks, they have different various types of hats, and if that's their guarantee, this should be the angle of the first email because if you look up here, welcome to Melin preview text, guaranteed to outlast any other hat you've ever had. That's going to increase open rate. Like I would bet money on it that's going to increase open rate because people are like, okay, I have to know how they can guarantee that. I've got to click, just curiosity based, right? It's a big benefit plus curiosity. Second, this tagline, welcome to Melin, we guarantee that our hats will outlast any other hat you've ever had. Wow, okay, that's a huge promise. That's a huge benefit. And then you say, hey, here's a coupon, go shop now. We're essentially greasing the slide here to get them into a purchase, and that's the big benefit we want them to focus on is, okay, if this thing's gonna outlast anything I've ever had, I have to try this. I have to. If I don't, it's dumb not to try it. So that's something I would say instead of using a flattery tagline here, I would potentially test into that big benefit, that guarantee. Let's see. Okay, so next section, find your shape. So if you're not in the hat industry or you don't wear hats, this is something I think that Melin got into or mentions that's brilliant, is that there is a difference, that people do care if it's curved or flat visored. There is a difference between the two, the way you wear it, how you wear it, the way that you walk around the world with a hat that has different types of visors, the way you look to other people matters. And this is brilliant that they, in the first email, initially, they say, hey, this could be an objection too, is like, you only have curved visors, you only have flat visors. No, we have both, right? If you like the curved, if you like the flat, if you liked shaping your flat visor into what you want or curving your curved visor more, you can do that with these hats, right? So I think it's a brilliant thing. They separated these two preferences out and said, hey, you can shop them by this type of preference. Again, brilliant. I think it's a smart move. And it helps people get into the products that they like, that they prefer quicker than just shopping through and trying to find it on their own. This is great. Excuse me. And then this section here. So this is something that Melin's probably tested, but something I would consider is removing this section. And here's why. So this whole email, this first welcome email, people sign up to get an incentive code or a discount code to shop, right? They're essentially closer to purchase than anybody else on your website because they're like, okay, I'm ready to buy. Maybe they have stuff in their shopping cart and they need a code because they want to get the 10% off. And if that's the majority of people coming to this email initially, the first email is, I'm ready to buy, I want the code, let's go. Sending them off to social may not be the best bet. Yes, social and community building is super important. It's absolutely vital to a brand. But in this first email, with knowing that your customer's coming in saying, hey, I'm ready to buy, why would we send them one to social where they could go to your feed, say, hey, this is awesome, great, get distracted, end up in another Instagram feed, and we'll lose them. We'll lose that sale until they either come back or we lose them forever, right? Two, social community building should come later in the welcome series because initially, the welcome series is to get those sales up front. And while yes, most there may be some objections there of like, hey, you shouldn't sell in your first couple emails. You have to give value. Well, that's great, but selling something to somebody is valuable. With that big benefit we mentioned of outlasting any other hat we've ever had, with the different types of visor curves, with the coupon code, that's all value. So asking for the sale initially in this email, we can't do without it being pushy or direct, or really just like sleazy, right? You can make this very, very positive and very customer affirmative, where it's like, hey, you can buy this and it's going to be a good thing for you. So those are the two thoughts there when it comes to this Instagram. Again, this thing is beautifully designed. I think the aesthetic is great. I really like this brand and the angle. Their presentation and just like how they stand in the market. But I would suggest potentially moving this social community building or Instagram share until later in the welcome series in a different email. Because there's other emails like social proof, there's social stories, there's testimonials, even case studies, video reviews of people using the videos, using the hats. That's where I would put this Instagram. It's like, hey, this is somebody who's bought the hat. Here's a video of them. Go check them out on Instagram. Like, go check out our feed. This is where they tag everybody. That would make more sense than right now in this email with where people are coming from after they sign up. So one more piece here, the have more fun hashtag, something I just random thought here. This is super general when it comes to have more fun. When it comes to like getting searched, like have more fun could be something somebody finds that's super fun. But also it's very specific to where the hat, their Melin's brand fits into this hashtag really well. Because that's kind of their angle. That's their theme. That's their approach, is like, let's have more fun, wear a hat that'll outlast anything else you ever bought. I just thought I'd mention that. That's absolutely great. A couple more sections here. The thank you section. I like the idea that Melin's addressing that the customer can buy from really any other brand on the planet when it comes to hats. The one thing I would add here in this section, though, is that big benefit again, is our hats outlast any other hat you've had. Just to remind people, if they've passed all the stuff we've gone through so far and they're still reading the email or still like going through it, mention that big benefit again before they hit this perfect fit promise, I think would be a nice 1-2 punch when it comes to the combo. Because one, thank you. There's a lot of different brands you could try. By the way, here's our perfect fit promise. So two things are happening here. One, you're thanking the person, acknowledging a general objection of like, well, I could buy from anybody. Like, why should I buy from you? And they answer that objection with the Melin's perfect fit promise. If Melin doesn't become your new favorite hat, send it back, no questions asked. So one of the big hurdles or objections is, how do I buy a hat that I don't know fits? Why would I spend $60, $70, $80 on a hat if I don't know it fits yet, or I don't even like the fit, or I don't like the material, or I don't like this? A bunch of objections spin off of that. And that's what I think they're doing here, saying, hey, thanks, we know you can buy from somebody else, but just in case you're worried that this may not be the best purchase for you, we have a perfect fit promise where if it doesn't become your favorite hat, send it back, no questions asked, we'll refund you. Adding the big benefit of this will outlast any other hat you ever wear in the thank you section makes this objection handling even stronger. I think it would make it stronger. So finally, we have the free shipping on US orders. I think this is a great combo when it comes to the perfect fit promise, just adding another feature and benefit to buying from Melin. Finally, the footer. This is pretty standard. You have the hashtag they want you to go to. So like in this case, if we remove the Instagram section up here, if we remove this, and we just left social down here at the bottom like this, I think that'd be totally fine. Honestly, I don't think a lot of people are clicking on these. From the stats I've seen, they aren't in the first welcome email. They're actually looking at the stuff up top that we went through. So yeah, leaving these in is fine. Shop, find your fit, contact. Find your fit. That could be an email in the email series on its own. Because if somebody doesn't buy from this, the next thing is, well, how do I know it's going to fit? That could be email number 2. Email number 3 could be a creation story of all the ingredients and products. Email number 4 could be social proof. Email number 5 could be something different, like a case study, or maybe an example of somebody using the hat while they surf, or something like that. Like you can have so much fun with this, or brand story or something like that. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this email. I hope this helps you out. Again, my name's Chris over at PearsonCopy.com. I'm here to help you make more sales for your brand with email. And stay tuned to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be making these videos over the next 100 days as my 100 email breakdowns and 100-day challenge. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps. See ya.